Okay, so this video is for anyone that's currently maybe it's just you yourself or like someone you know going through a tough time, like stuck in a rut or whatever. And I want to talk about like what I did to get out of my rut and like what my rut was like, how bad it was, and what I did to navigate out of it. And hopefully you can use some of these tips or tricks or whatever you want to call them to maybe help you get out of yours. So I think like the first thing you have to do is you have to figure out like how bad is your current situation that you're stuck in. Like, and I think bad is kind of relative to like you yourself of what you think is bad, right? So it's like what I mean is like if if like say maybe you were sheltered your whole life, like or just like you lived in a bubble kind of thing, like you never like you lived back in the country, you never seen the city, and just you're soft, so maybe like something that's like moderately bad like might seem really tough to you or something, but like for me with going through for what I went through for motocross and stuff, like I'd already been kind of callous and toughened up from like going like being in a sport like that. So the head injury definitely like was bad. Like it freaking was like a shock to me. It was I had never been through something like this before in my life, but like still like I was somewhat prepared for it. So the first thing is like whenever you kind of are whenever you just are like you feel like you're bottomed down, you don't know which way to go. It's like what's happening is like your brain gets stuck on these loops and like basically sports psychologists talk about this a lot too. You can look into it like if you go on YouTube and look at these videos, but like they talk about like the negative thinking you get on these like these loops, like negative thinking causes like bad emotions and the bad emotions cause negative thinking and you get caught in this loop. And so what you have to do is you have to get out of the bad emotion, you get into a good emotion. And so what I found like to help me, like this is something that I've done. I used to do it with I do it with racing. I didn't realize I was doing it until after I figured out like how I was sort of working with the head injury that I was doing. But what you do is like you want like take your favorite playlist and you need to find a bunch of really good songs that just like make you feel good, like that are just like happy music, make you feel good. You need to exercise consistently, like weekly, at least like I would say at least like twice a week. And I'm not talking about like you don't need to go to the gym and like hit it hard. Just go for a 5 minute walk and listen to these songs that make you happy. And whenever you're listening to this music and you're walking, like visualize like where you're trying to get to. And after enough time of practice of doing this, like I promise you, like at some point your visualization will get so well that you'll see yourself doing these things and you'll fully like then you're gonna be convinced that you can do it. And once you believe you can do it, I think the rest is on autopilot, because in my opinion, once you fully believe as a person you can do something, I think your subconscious sort of like goes to work on it, and all of a sudden like you get ideas, you start to go to the gym more and you want to work harder, and all of a sudden that idea to like get you to the next level you're trying to figure out just happens to hit you because you've been doing these things to get you to the next level. And it kind of happens naturally without you even knowing how you're doing. You just kind of like knowing you're going to get it done, but you don't really know how. So I think the how is not that important. I think you just gotta know you're gonna do it and just put in the work until you figure out how you're gonna do it. I think that's at least what I did, because like where I was, like you think about like, I mean, I didn't know anything about the brain, and like I had this terrible head injury, and everyone I seen was telling me, "Look, dude, you're not gonna walk again." Like whatever. Like I got just tons of bad news every time, and so like, but in my head, I was just like, well, no one thought that I could become a pro motocross racer either. So why should I listen to these people, even though they're like, I'm going to like the best doctors and the best rehab places in the country, and they're all telling me like, yeah, dude, like I mean, like Shepherd Center is like top 25 in the country for brain and spinal cord injuries, and they fitted me for a wheelchair, and I straight up bought a wheelchair. I never took it home because I ended up leaving on a cane, but regardless, like they told me I would. They told me like to expect to live in a one-story home and whatever. And so it's just like if I can do it, then it's like I'm just human. Like I'm not anything special. I just like chose not to believe in those people that told me I couldn't do it. And I chose to just think a different way. And I kind of like listened to my music and I thought positive. And I was like, oh no, it'll all be good. Like I'm gonna figure this out. I always figure it out. So I'm just do the same thing I did in motor. I'm just gonna figure it out. And like I would just visualize all the time. And over my course of like through like all these going to all these different therapy therapists and different therapy facilities, I met some really cool people, and I would always ask them like, "Hey, would you?" Because like I had friends. There's like I always thought of there's like two types of head injuries. Like there's like one that you sort of don't know they're hurt until you talk to them. So it's like they're not physically injured. They're like they have like cognitive issues or something like that. And so I always ask therapists. I'm like, "Hey, well, if would you rather be physically impaired or mentally impaired?" And they were like, and they said, "Oh, physically 100%," because they're like, it's really hard to rehabilitate the mental stuff. So they're like, as long as you have your mind right, you can do whatever you do whatever you want. And I always found that to be really powerful. So like when I was negative, I was like, well, hey, look, at least my mind is still right. It's just like physically, I'm not where I want to be. I'm not walking like I used to anymore. My left hand doesn't work like I used to anymore and all this stuff. But it's just like, well, hey, like my mind's intact. Let's just use what I can use and let's just figure it out. And like just sure enough, like just baby steps. So like it was just like let's make a goal of just like work. Like riding the bicycle, then riding the road bike. It's like, okay, we're doing this sick. Like then all of a sudden like um these then once I like seen these techniques like pay off like I'm talking about, I was like, oh shit, like I really wish I knew about this stuff when I was racing because I would have been so much better. So like I immediately started doing it for I started training I started at ITMX. The whole reason I got started is because like of the stuff I was doing. And it was all around like mindset stuff. It was like hardly even like obviously I have like your standard training, like we're doing like technique and stuff, but like 90% of it is all just like mindset and perspective on the track, and I swear it works. It's amazing. And so like the point I'm making is just like when I went all in on just just focusing on like just getting my mind right, that's when like it seemed like stuff started to really change and started flowing for me and get going better again.